what if you could change the number of neutrons? What role do neutrons have in an atom? Well, the thing is that if you could change the number of neutrons in an atom, what would happen? So there are 6 neutrons originally in this carbon atom. What if you added a 7th neutron? Would it still be carbon? So about 70% of you said yes, or actually 68% of you said yes, 31% said no. Thing is that if we just added 1 neutron, does that change the number of protons? How many protons do we have? We still have 6 protons. We changed the number of neutrons, but there are still 6 protons. So the thing is that we actually changed the overall weight of the nucleus, but this is still carbon. It's now just a little heavier because a neutron does have mass. It has equal mass, or roughly equal mass, to a proton. So what we actually did is create an isotope of carbon. So both of this is still like its original state, and it's a state with like having another additional neutron. They're both still carbon. The one with 7 neutrons, it would be a little heavier than the version of carbon with only 6 neutrons. So this is what we call an isotope. So what we actually saw is something called carbon-12 with just like 6 protons and 6 neutrons. But when you have 6 protons and 7 neutrons, it's what we call carbon-13. And if you added another neutron, you would have carbon-14. And you may have heard this, especially if you've heard about carbon dating and also archaeology. So yes, these are isotopes. So you have the same chemical original element, but if you change the number of neutrons, these different numbers of neutrons are of the same element. So same number of protons, but different number of neutrons. These are isotopes. So yeah, you can have multiple different isotopes. They're still going to be carbon. They're all going to have the same amount of protons. What's the difference? They all have different numbers of neutrons. And why does that matter? Well, remember that protons have weight, so do neutrons. So the thing is that the mass number is referring to the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So the greater the mass number of an atom, the heavier that atom is. So a carbon-14 atom is going to weigh more than a carbon-12 atom, and a carbon-12 atom is going to weigh more than a carbon-11 atom, because protons and neutrons have mass, they have weight.